Rotom, a little plasma ghost Pokemon with the power to possess household appliances and other electronics, with each thing Rotom possessing giving it a new secondary type. So let's see what a Rotom of every type might look like. Hey everyone, Brandon here. So as I said before, Rotom has the ability to possess electronics. Sometimes it is used to pull pranks on people, such as its initial forms. Other times it's used to assist them in daily life, like in all the forms introduced after Gen 7. With 6 out of the 18 types being occupied by these Rotom forms, there's room left to wonder what appliances or electronics Rotom would have to possess to get the other 12 types. So to find this out, I asked you guys for help by participating in a contest I hosted in March to celebrate reaching 50,000 subscribers on the channel. We are now at... What? You guys are absolutely wild with the support on this channel. Thank you, truly, from the bottom of my heart. It really means the world to me. Anyway, the community went so hard for this contest, and I got so many more submissions than I was expecting. I was initially just gonna have one winner for each type, but you guys surprised me with so many fun and amazing concepts that I couldn't help but feature a bunch of different forms for each type. So if you're excited to see a bunch of fun Rotom forms, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And if you like the concept of different Pokemon of every type, there's a playlist of past of every type videos you can check out through this card or through the link in the description. Anyway, let's get into some Rotom forms. Take it away, Cartoon Me. Starting us off is the Psychic type. For this one, most of you seem to have the same idea. Rotom possessing a TV, to reference subliminal messaging in media, as well as us being hypnotized by our televisions, being stuck watching them like some kind of hypnotized zombie. These 3 entries illustrate this concept perfectly, with this one by I'm Solart actually using its powers to soothe children and adults alike. One other concept I found really fun is this form of Rotom that has possessed a calculator, getting across the whole idea of the psychic typing being associated with intelligence. For the normal type, there were a couple concepts that caught my eye, particularly these 2 which are based on 2 different kinds of speakers. One a CD player, and the other a Bluetooth speaker, both playing into the normal type's affinity for sound-based Pokemon and moves. Another concept that I really enjoyed is this Rotom that has possessed a copy machine, which refers to the normal type having Pokemon that can copy others, such as Ditto or Smeargle. For the rock type, we have these forms of Rotom that have possessed a jackhammer. I love this idea. I can imagine these forms just wreaking havoc on the sidewalks of cities. Another concept for the rock type that I really enjoyed was this form of Rotom that has possessed a rock salt lamp. I find this hilarious because I've always had one of these in my home, and I feel like there's at least one in every home nowadays. So you could even call this a household appliance. Also, I wanted to give a quick shout out to this form, a Rotom electric guitar, that is electric rock type. Great pun. Though I don't usually do this for of every type videos, I decided to include the pure electric typing for a Rotom form. Because in this situation, I feel like there would be a Rotom form for it, and these 2 concepts are exactly what I thought of. These Rotom have possessed generators. I really like the idea of these Rotom coming to the rescue during a power outage. I could even see an episode of the anime where this form of Rotom comes to the rescue when, ironically, an electric type gym's power goes out. For the ground type, there are these 2 forms in which a Rotom has possessed a shop vacuum, or shop vac for short, with the ground typing coming from shop vacs picking up huge amounts of dirt and dust off the floor. I imagine these Rotom would take all the stuff they've sucked up and use it for a sand attack or sand tomb. For the dark type, there were a couple very different concepts that I liked. One was this one by Double Cheeseburger, in which Rotom has possessed an old rotary phone, so it can make prank calls without having to worry about caller ID. The other is a Rotom that has possessed an old PC by Splat the Crystal. It has become a glitch in this PC and corrupted it. You can even see it has a missing note for a hand, which could be a Pokemon whose data was corrupted because of this Rotom form. Spooky. For the Steel type, it seems the general consensus was on Rotom possessing some form of saw. Here are some forms in which a Rotom has possessed a chainsaw and another that has possessed a table saw. I especially love how the table saw one has its hand as a guide for the saw blade. There were also 2 other concepts for Steel type I really enjoyed. There's this one by Sidonia Arts that has Rotom possessing an iron, which is just a hilarious pun I couldn't resist featuring. The other is this toaster form by Sketchy Sketchbook. This Rotom can shoot toast-shaped flash cannons, which is also super hilarious. For the poison type, we have these 2 Rotom forms that are possessed blenders. The blender being used for the poison type made a lot of sense to me. I just imagine Rotom being like one of those challenge videos where they're just grabbing a bunch of random ingredients, throwing them into a blender, and making the world's worst smoothie. Babe, are you okay? You've hardly touched your strawberry, horseradish, soy sauce, mustard smoothie. These last few types were all over the place when it came to what Rotom would possess. So let's begin with the type that was the most scattered as far as forms, the fairy type. For these next few, I'm just going to list a bunch of forms that I found fun and why. First up, we have this form, which is a Rotom that has possessed an electric toothbrush. I love the play on the tooth fairy being why it has the fairy typing. I also picture it having bubblegum toothpaste on the bristles. Next, we have this camera Rotom. It can use Dazzling Gleam, and I imagine it probably uses Flash too, which I love. After that, we have this form of Rotom that has possessed fairy lights. I love the pun of using the name to explain the typing. On top of that, fairy is ostensibly the light type, so the typing works as a double pun for both parts of the name, fairy lights. Speaking of lights, we have this Rotom that has possessed a nightlight, once again playing into the fairy typing acting as the light type. After that, we have this form of Rotom that has possessed a Tamagotchi. I just really love the pun of Rotamagotchi for this one. For yet another form, we have this Rotom possessing an artificial Christmas tree, which exudes the fairy typing by giving us some holiday cheer. Lastly, for the fairy type, we have these three forms based on oil diffusers and a smoke machine. I really like the idea of Rotom having the fairy typing for the same reason as Aromatisse, giving off a pleasant and calming scent that could even put you to sleep. The bug type, like in most of every type videos, is a really hard one to pin down design elements for. There were a few that I liked in particular, such as this form in which a Rotom has possessed a sewing machine. I love how this plays on the idea of spider silk to justify the bug typing. Another one is this Rotom that has possessed a buzz saw, which is just a great pun. There's also these two forms which are more great puns. They made Rotom possess a beetle. I found this utterly hilarious in the best way. For the fighting type, we have a few options. A couple that I really thought fit were Rotom possessing some form of video game technology, like these two forms. Another one I found very clever design-wise was this form by Splat the Crystal, in which Rotom has possessed an electric car jack. And look, the car jack looks like Rotom is flexing its muscles. Adorable. Another concept was this one by Sketchy Sketchbook that is a treadmill Rotom. I love the idea of exercise being associated with the fighting type, so this one was especially appealing to me. Last but not least is the dragon type. Though what Rotom possessed was varied, there was a common theme amongst most of the dragon type entries. Rotom possessing something big, like a satellite, or a helicopter, or train, or plane, oh my! I really love the idea of the dragon typing being attributed to a large, intimidating presence like these forms. For some smaller forms, we have this Rotom Leaf Blower by Sergeant Mako, and a Mouse Rotom by KKO Draws. I find the way they both use Rotom's arms as wings really cool. And I love how the mouse is the opposite idea of the other Rotom forms, in that sometimes the biggest strengths come in the smallest packages. And that is all the Rotom forms for this video. Let me know which one was your favorite. And a huge thank you to everyone who participated in this contest. If you enjoyed the contest, make sure to let me know if you'd like to see more in the future. Also, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to keep up to date with future videos. And with that, I will see you guys next time.